And it's time to talk some recruiting. National Signing Day coming up. You see the man on the screen now with me and Clay. Peter Ariz does great work with CanesInside.com. Also does recruiting stuff in South Florida for the Miami Herald. Peter, it's good for you to join us tonight. It's a perfect week to have you with National Signing Day coming up this week. How's the Canes class looking so far overall? What do you like so far? What's the kind of the scope of what they've done?
So right now Miami has about a top 15 class, but they have a chance to finish really strong here down the stretch on about 5 to 6 guys, which could catapult them up into the top 10 of those rankings. A few guys to look out for down the stretch, a couple guys making national television announcements on National Signing Day. Jeff Thomas, a wide receiver out of Illinois. He was the MVP of the Under Armour All-American game. Miami is in very good position to land him. Mike Harley, a receiver, local product, St. Thomas Aquinas, legit speed, 4'3" guy. Reminds a lot of people of Philip Dorsett, former Miami Hurricanes receiver. He's another big play guy who's making his decision on signing day. And then on the other side of the ball, a couple defensive backs, C.J. Henderson out of Columbus. It's a Miami and Florida battle at this point. Canes looking good, though, and that would be a big get. He's a 4'3", 440 guy at 6'1", and he can really make an impact at cornerback. One more guy at defensive back, Brian Edwards out of Miramar, 6'2", long defensive back. And the Canes, another guy who they're looking like they're in good shape for. It was a battle with Florida down the stretch. He'll be making his final announcement on Wednesday.
It sounds like a lot of local guys in that mix, and we always like to hear that, Pete. Of course, the most important position on the field is going to look a lot different next year at the quarterback spot with Brad Kaya leaving. Can you tell us about the 2 recruits that they have coming in, one who's already on campus, and how they figure into the mix in that race?
So, of course, on campus already from last year's team, Malik Rozier is going to be a redshirt senior. Jack Allison returns. He was a big recruit from the previous class. And Evan Sheriffs is another guy who might be in the mix as well. But out of the 2 freshmen, Cade Weldon, son of Casey Weldon, former Florida State quarterback, he's already on campus. 6'2", good arm, very good athleticism. He's a guy that he's going to have a little bit of an upper hand as far as him and the other freshman quarterback, N'Kosi Perry, because Perry gets in May. But Perry is a guy that Miami coaches, and especially Mark Richt, is extremely excited about. He's a dual threat guy. He needs to really put a little bit of weight on, get in the weight room, but he's a dynamic player, and he's a game changer potentially for Miami.
You mentioned like a top 15 class as of now, and let's face it, the Canes have been working their way up to be a top 20 team. This year was a big step with Mark Richt in his first year. But Pete, how close are they to being a team that could be a top 10? In recruiting, in the season, and getting those type of dynamic players that we see be a big part of college football?
Well, I think on the defensive side of the ball, they are stacked, especially in that front 7 for years to come. We've seen what Coach Kulagowski has done in just 1 year, transforming that defensive line. Manny Diaz implemented that aggressive defensive scheme, had tremendous success this year. So I think they're good. They're really top 10 on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, of course, going to be that question about the quarterback position, but I think that first step is going to be what they're going to do at offensive line. I think that is the group that's going to separate this team and take it from good to great and potentially elite. I think this recruiting class has done a good job so far getting those offensive linemen as well. It's one of the tops in the country, in my opinion, so that's a good first step.
Yeah, you got a big one a couple of days ago from here in South Florida as well. Pete, going into that top 15, if they were to make that jump to the top 10, that's really a huge jump even from last year, Mark Richt's first time on campus, this being Mark Richt's first full recruiting cycle. What's been the difference? What's changed to allow them to make that jump potentially into the top 10 this year?
Well, last year it was more of a project where Richt had to come in and kind of salvage what was already there with the recruiting class. He was able to keep Amon Richards after he decommitted. That was obviously a very, very good job by him. Nick Saban tried to come in and grab him late. But this year, Miami really is able to point to the field and say, look, we have freshmen from last year's class. All 3 linebackers were true freshmen. Amon Richards, Joseph Jackson, 9.5 sacks this year for the Canes as well. So the coaches can kind of say, look, we don't just use that as a recruiting pitch. We're actually letting freshmen go out there and make plays.
Saying that, it's a lead to this question. Who's the Amon Richards for next year? Who's the one guy who say next year at this time when you look back at the Canes season say, wow, that was the impact freshman, the guy that just came out of there and had a big season?
Well, I'm actually going to go to the defensive side of the ball. Trajan Bandy out of Christopher Columbus High School. He's going to come in and I think probably start at the nickel corner position. But this is a guy who plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's always around the football. He's a big hitter, which is something that Coach Mike Rumpf and Coach Banda really like at the defensive back spot. And I think with the void at cornerback, especially with Corn Elder headed to the next level, Adrian Colbert as well. I think Trajan Bandy is going to be a guy that's going to excite a lot of Canes fans, potentially in the return game as well.
Pete, again, you mentioned another local guy. How much of a focus has that been for Rick to kind of lock down these walls around South Florida?
Well, look, with the talent that's down here in South Florida, and not only Miami-Dade County, but Broward County and West Palm Beach, of course, any coach in Miami is going to want to come in and lock in guys. But interestingly enough, what Miami's doing is they're not only trying to get guys from this area, but they're going out and cherry picking from states like California. DJ Johnson is one of the top defensive ends in the country. He's from Sacramento. He's going to be coming to Miami. He'll be enrolling in May, so that was a big get. And actually, another guy to keep an eye on, Evidence Njoku. That's a name that a lot of Canes fans are familiar with. That's David Njoku's brother. He's actually already taller than David. He's about 6'6" right now, and it looks like he has some room to grow. So that's a kid from New Jersey. So not only are they trying to lock it down in South Florida, but they're going out and getting guys who they think can make an impact from other places as well.
Give me any Njoku. I'll take them all. All the Njoku brothers come to UM after what David did. Special player indeed. Hey, by the way, you cover tough guys. You're a tough guy too. What? Your tooth okay? Just so you know, at playing pickup basketball, Pete hurt his tooth. Did you get it knocked out?
Yeah, I got it knocked out. Got it fixed yesterday morning.
Just to be here.
Man, look at that.
And just to be here today.
I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior.
That's the team spirit. We recruited the right guy.
That's right. Signing day, he steps up. That's what we like.
All the stars that you need. Pete, listen, get some rest. I know you got a lot of stuff going on from now to Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. You can always catch Pete's Inside on CanesInside.com and as a contributor for South Florida recruiting for the Miami Herald. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.